If your car wears a Jaguar badge, an Infiniti badge, or a Fisker badge, you have a problem coming. It is not the engine, it is the parts. Garages up and down this country are turning cars away right now because the diagnostic access, the software, or the panels simply do not exist anymore. And it is costing owners real money. One bloke I know watched £11,000 fall off his car in 18 months, and he never had a crash. 7 brands collapsing in Britain, 7 down to 1. Number 7, Mitsubishi. Start with the one you know, the Shogun, the L200. The Outlander plug-in hybrid that half the councils and utility firms in this country ran for years. Mitsubishi pulled out of the British new car market in the autumn of 2021. Not scaled back, out. The importer, the Colt Car Company, shut its doors and the after-sales side was sold on to International Motors. Now here is the good news first, because I am not going to tell you a Mitsubishi is scrap. It is not. The after-sales network stayed alive, more than 100 service sites across the country, and Mitsubishi is coming back to the new car market in the summer of 2026 with the Outlander plug-in hybrid and the new L200. They are appointing around 60 sales dealers to do it. But look at what happened in the 5 years in between, because that is the bit that hit owners in the wallet. A brand with no new cars in the showrooms is a brand that stops mattering to buyers. Residuals soften because nobody is walking past a Mitsubishi forecourt anymore. Specialists who used to see them every week stopped seeing them. And on the plug-in Outlander in particular, the high voltage side of that car is not a job for a garage without the right training and the right kit. The petrol engine in the Outlander and the diesel in the L200 are honest, tough units. That has never been the problem. The problem is what happens when the expensive thing goes wrong. Ask around the trade for a drive battery replacement on an older Outlander plug-in hybrid, and you are in 4 figures very quickly, and quotes vary wildly depending on whether you are getting a full pack, a refurbished pack, or individual modules. Some owners get lucky at under 2,000. Some are quoted 5 and walk away and scrap a car that drives perfectly well. That is the pattern with every brand in this video. The car is fine. The support around the car is what fails. Mitsubishi at least came back. Number 6 is a brand that left and never even looked over its shoulder. I am Roy Stroud. 45, 22 years in independent workshops in the Midlands, never worked for a dealership in my life. Nobody pays me to defend a design decision, and no manufacturer has ever bought me lunch. Hit subscribe. This one could genuinely save somebody from buying a car they cannot get fixed. None of this is my opinion. It is published withdrawal announcements from the manufacturers themselves, DVSA recall records, and what independent workshops are dealing with every week. Number 6. Chrysler. Some of you had one. The 300C, the one that looked like a shrunken Bentley, the one people fitted chrome grills to. The Grand Voyager that carted half the school football team about for a decade. Chrysler is gone from Britain. The brand was pulled out of the United Kingdom by 2017, after registrations had fallen through the floor. In its last full years, it was down to 3 models and a couple of thousand cars a year. So what does that mean for the ones still on the road? It means no franchise dealer. It means no technical hotline. It means that when your local garage plugs in and the fault code points at a module, the technical data for that module might not exist in any subscription they can buy. Parts is where it really bites. Some items cross over from the wider Stellantis parts bin and from Mercedes, because the big 3-litre diesel in the 300C was a Mercedes-derived engine. That is genuinely helpful, and it saves a lot of these cars. But trim, sensors, body panels, and anything American-specific gets ordered in from abroad. And then you are waiting weeks and paying shipping and duty on top of the part. Let me put a number on the frustration. A job that would be a £400 afternoon on a Ford turns into a £1,200 saga on an orphaned Chrysler, and 2/3 of that difference is not labour. It is the part, the weight, and the second diagnostic session to prove the part was even right. There are good independent specialists who love these cars and know them inside out. Find one before you buy one, not after. The 300C is a lovely thing to drive, and it costs peanuts to buy. That is exactly the trap. Chrysler at least left you a car with a Mercedes engine in it. Number 5 left 10,000 British owners with a car that nobody can get a wing mirror for. Number 5. Infiniti, Nissan's premium brand. It launched here in 2008 with a huge amount of noise, and it never took hold. In 2019, Infiniti confirmed it was pulling out of Western Europe entirely, and all 6 of its United Kingdom showrooms closed in March 2020. 10,000 cars sold here in a decade. 10,000 owners. Now, there is a split in this one that matters enormously, and hardly anybody explains it. The Q30 and the QX30 were built at Sunderland, and underneath, they are largely a Mercedes A-Class of that era. Mercedes engines. Mercedes gearbox. Mercedes platform. If you own one of those, half your service parts are available from any motor factor in the country, and a good independent who knows Mercedes can look after it. The Q50 and Q60 are a different story. Those are Japanese, Infiniti specific, and the parts come from a network that no longer exists on this side of the world. Both are ordinary cars to service, oil, filters, brakes, tyres, all normal. Here is where the money goes. Body panels and lights. Have a low-speed knock in a supermarket car park in a Q60, and your insurer starts pricing a bumper, a headlamp, and a wing that have to come from another continent. Add a courtesy car for 6 weeks while they wait. On a car with a book value of £6,000 or £7,000, that arithmetic finishes very quickly, and the assessor writes it off. That is the thing owners never see coming. It is not that the car breaks, it is that a £2,000 dent becomes a total loss because the supply chain is dead. I have seen it happen twice this year on orphan brands. Both cars drove into the body shop under their own power. Both left on a lorry. So if you are looking at a cheap Infiniti and thinking it is a bargain, check your insurance quote and check what a front end is worth before you sign anything. That is the one nobody warns you about. The next one is the opposite. There is a manufacturer scheme sitting there with your name on it, and most owners have no idea it exists. Number 4. DS Automobiles. Stellantis launched DS as a premium brand in this country. Fancy showrooms, fancy interiors, sold on the basis that it was something more special than a Citroën. The showroom presence in Britain has always been thin, the volumes are small, and the resale values reflect exactly that. But that is not why DS is on this list. This is why. A lot of these cars use the small PureTech petrol engines. 1 litre, 1.2, 1.5. And on the earlier versions of those engines, the cam belt runs inside the engine in the oil. When a wet belt starts to break down, it does not snap and warn you. It sheds material. That material goes round with the oil, it blocks the oil pickup, and then the engine dies from oil starvation. There is no noise, no warning light, no time to pull over. The car just stops, and it is done. Stellantis have put an extended warranty in place on that engine family covering up to 10 years or 112,000 miles, parts and labour, and there is an online portal where owners can claim back money they have already spent on related repairs. Read that again. A manufacturer does not build a refund website for an engine that is fine. The newer versions of the 1.2 from around 2023 moved the belt to a chain, and the problem largely went with it. Now the money, and this is the bit worth writing down. A wet belt replacement done properly, belt, pump, oil, is generally somewhere around £1,000 at an independent. An engine that has already been starved is a different world. Once you are into a replacement unit and fitting, you are looking at 4 figures climbing towards 5, and on a car worth £6,000, that is the end of the story. So if you own anything with one of those engines, DS, Citroën, Peugeot or Vauxhall, go and put your registration into that Stellantis portal and find out where you stand. It takes 2 minutes and it might be worth thousands. That one might owe you money. Number 3 is the one where the money only ever goes one way. Number 3. Maserati. The Trident. Racing heritage back before the First World War. One of the most aspirational badges in the business. And in Britain today, it is one of the fastest ways to lose money that does not involve a bookmaker. The dealer network here is tiny. Handfuls of sites covering the whole country. If you live in the north of Scotland or West Wales, your nearest franchised Maserati specialist is a day out, and the ownership arithmetic is brutal. These cars fall off a cliff in the first 3 years. A car that was well north of £80,000 new can be sitting at a third of that by its 3rd birthday, sometimes less, and the trade prices them on the assumption that the next owner is going to be frightened by the servicing. The MC20 with the Nettuno engine is a genuinely special car, and history will be kind to it. Here is what the running costs actually look like on the everyday ones. Tyres on a big Levante are several £100s a corner. A full set of discs and pads at a specialist is comfortably 4 figures. Servicing is main dealer money because the independents who will take one on are thin on the ground. And on any of them, once you are into the electronics or the air suspension, you are into parts prices set for a market where the buyer was not counting. That is the honest position with a used Maserati. The purchase price looks like a bargain precisely because everybody who has run one is telling everybody else what the bills were. Quick favor before the top 2. If this has already stopped you doing something expensive, tap like. Costs you nothing and it helps this reach the person about to buy an orphan car this weekend. Cheers. Number 2. Fisker. This is the one that should frighten every single person watching because it is what the future of a badly run car company now looks like. Fisker built the Ocean, an electric SUV assembled by Magna Steyr in Austria. Right-hand drive cars came to Britain. People paid serious money for them, £50,000 and up. In June 2024, Fisker filed for bankruptcy protection in the United States. Around 11,000 Oceans were out there in customers' hands worldwide. No manufacturer, no warranty, no over-the-air updates, no parts department. Now understand what that means on a modern electric car, because it is not like being left with an old Saab. Almost everything on the Ocean runs through software. Servicing it needs the manufacturer's own diagnostic tool. When the company died, access to that tool died with it, and independent garages had no legal, licensed way to talk to the car at all. Owners reported cars bricked by a failed update. Not broken, bricked. A £50,000 object sitting on a driveway that will not move. What happened next is genuinely one of the most remarkable things I have seen in this trade. The owners formed an association, thousands strong, hired their own software people, reverse engineered the manufacturer's patches, taught each other to flash firmware, and organised group buying of spare parts. They built a support network for a car company that no longer exists. They have done more for those owners than the company ever managed. But be clear about the position. Approved service points were established in North America first, and the European coverage came slowly. A technician at one of those approved shops summed the car up in a sentence. It was not built to be serviced. Now the money. If you're looking at a used Ocean in Britain right now because the price looks incredible, work out what happens when the drive unit, the battery management module, or the high voltage battery fails. There is no manufacturer to warranty it. There is no dealer network to fit it. And your insurer will look at a car with no parts supply and price the write-off accordingly. I would not touch one. And if a customer brought me one, I would have to tell them honestly that I cannot get into it, and neither can almost anybody else with a ramp and a license. That is a brand failing and taking the cars down with it. Number 1 is a brand that did it to itself on purpose in this country while owning a factory here. Number 1, Jaguar. 1961, Geneva. Jaguar reveals the E-Type. Enzo Ferrari is said to have called it the most beautiful car ever made. It did 150 miles per hour and cost a fraction of a Ferrari. Now here is where we are. From November 2024, Jaguar stopped selling new cars in the United Kingdom. Completely. The XE, the XF, the F-Type, the E-Pace, the I-Pace, and finally the F-Pace, all withdrawn. Production of 3 of them at Castle Bromwich ended that summer. Any remaining stock in dealers was reclassified as pre-owned, whatever the number on the odometer. For the first time since the Second World War, you could not walk into a British showroom and order a new Jaguar. In Britain, from a British brand. The dealer network was slimmed down ahead of the relaunch. The first new car, the Type 00, was meant to be revealed in 2025, with deliveries in early 2026. That reveal slipped into 2026, and the price is expected to be north of £100,000. And Jaguar's own managing director has said publicly that only around 15% of their existing customers are expected to follow them up to that price bracket. Think about what that sentence means if you own a Jaguar today. Your brand has said out loud that it is not building a car for you anymore. The engineering in the last generation was decent, and JLR have kept servicing and warranty support running for existing owners. Now the victim and the invoice, because this is what it looks like on a driveway rather than in a press release. A customer of mine ran an I-Pace. Loved it. Quiet, quick, comfortable, and he had a charger at home, so it cost him almost nothing to run. 2 things happened at once. The brand went dark in this country. So the used market for anything with a Jaguar badge got very thin very quickly. And the high voltage side of that car is dealer work, not independent work. So every time something needed attention, he was booking into a franchise site that was further away than it used to be because the network had shrunk. He went to part exchange it in the spring. The offer came back roughly £11,000 below what he had been told to expect a year and a half earlier. Not because the car had done anything wrong. It had done 31,000 miles and it was immaculate because the badge had stopped meaning anything to the next buyer. He asked me what he should have done differently. I told him the truth. Nothing. He bought a good car from a British manufacturer that then walked away from the entire market underneath him. If you own any Jaguar, do one thing this week. Put your registration into the government vehicle recall checker on the DVSA site. It is free, it takes about 30 seconds, and it tells you whether there is an outstanding safety recall on your exact car. Recall work is carried out free of charge. You just want proof it has been done, and you want it done while there is a network to do it in. The most beautiful car ever made came from a company that has now spent 18 months in its own home market with nothing to sell. Quick recap: 7, Mitsubishi; 6, Chrysler; 5, Infiniti; 4, DS; 3, Maserati; 2, Fisker; 1, Jaguar. Here is the honest takeaway, and it is not really about badges at all. For 100 years, buying a car meant buying metal. If the company died, the metal carried on and somebody somewhere could machine you apart. That is how classic cars survive. That is not true anymore. A modern car is a computer with wheels, and the thing that keeps it alive is not steel. It is access. Access to the diagnostic software, access to the parts catalogue, access to the technical data that tells a mechanic which module talks to which. When a brand pulls out of a market, that access is what disappears first, and it takes the value of your car with it. So before you buy anything, especially anything cheap and premium looking, ask 3 questions. 1. Is this brand still selling new cars in Britain today? 2. Where is my nearest franchised or specialist site, and how far is that in a recovery truck? 3. Can an independent garage get diagnostic access to this car, or is it locked to a network that might not be here in 3 years? If you cannot answer all 3, the low price is not a bargain. It is the market telling you something you have not worked out yet. Now I want to hear from you. Have you owned a car from a brand that pulled out of this country? Tell me what happened when you needed a part and how long you waited. That information is worth more to the person reading these comments than any review ever written. If this helped, hit like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Look after it, and it will look after you. This video is based on publicly available manufacturer announcements, recall records, published warranty and support programs, and independent trade evidence current at the time of publication. Individual vehicle outcomes vary. Company situations, dealer networks, parts availability and warranty terms change over time, and some models may have had subsequent updates, recalls or improvements. Nothing here is a substitute for a qualified inspection of your own vehicle. Always obtain current information and independent advice before making any purchase or repair decision.